we go through the alignment process to answer PLC question number 1. What is it we want our students to learn? On the left side of the slide, you'll find the specific resources that I'll use to go through the alignment process for Science Standard 6.6b. The student is expected to calculate density to identify an unknown substance. It is important to start with a critical reading of the standard. Some concepts, like density, are covered in multiple grade levels, so it is important that I understand exactly what needs to be taught for this standard. I don't need to teach middle school students everything there is to know about this topic. That will be fleshed out in other grades. Being clear about the specificity of the standard will make the instruction more efficient, and limiting my instruction to the precise content of the standard will help students be more successful if we're forced into a distance learning setting. While starting with the TEKS is very important, we often talk about reading the TEKS, reviewing the alignment documents, and going through release test questions like they're separate steps to be done one at a time. But in practice, it's much more organic than that. As I work through the alignment process for a standard, I'm constantly going back and forth between these resources. As I do this, I'm teasing out those essential facts that students will need to know in hopes of making the standard feel simple for the students. I'm determining what experiences students will have to have and what skills they will need to practice as they master this standard. I'm looking for patterns in the questions. What content seems to come up most often, and how are the questions typically asked? I'm thinking about what questions might look like in the future and how I can keep my students from being tricked. It's important that teachers come to their PLC with this knowledge in hand, and it's critical that every teacher goes through this process for him or herself. There's no substitute for the value that comes from teachers internalizing the content that their students will be required to master. And there's just no shortcut for internalizing that knowledge.